You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Kallander and Andrew Yaggie. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
It's episode 49 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla Kallander, and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yaggie, and I'm a real estate agent.
Hello, Andrew Yaggie. Happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever date this comes out. How are you?
What day will it be? I'm doing really well, just coming off of Father's Day weekend. It was kind of a nice low-key weekend, just kind of hanging with some family. Did you guys do anything enjoyable or fun?
I love that. We were at the lake with family. My husband's family was in town from South Carolina, so we spent time at the lake with the kiddos and had some okay weather, some spotty weather, but went into the lovely city of Perham and had some really amazing ice cream. Ooh. And went to this toy store there. I don't even know, like Goose Gang. So if you ever are in Perham and you want to see tons of games and have lots of candy, visit the town of Perham. A lot of fun.
Perham does have a lot of awesome things going on. I mean, the main street downtown is really cool. All of the little seasonal shops.
Yeah, it's really neat. And I never knew it was there until we had our lake place. So it's just kind of fun to just get out and explore a little bit more than typical Fargo, North Dakota. So
for sure. It does, amaze me, and the lakes area for sure. You get a lot of people, but even like being in Fergus Falls, I had, it's probably been a month ago now, but we were downtown Fergus Falls and kind of hanging out, went and had breakfast, walked through the farmer's market, went to the children's museum, kind of indoor play place. And I ran into several people from the Fargo area that came down here just because they like to get out of Fargo. And that really surprised me because like when I think of here, I'm like, I feel like I know there are some great amenities, but when you're in your own environment, you're like, there's nothing to do here. I need to go to Fargo for something to do. So it was just kind of refreshing seeing that.
It's just a nice change of scenery sometimes, it's just nice to get out and it's quieter sometimes and it's not as much traffic. So I don't know, it's always a good time just to kind of get out and it feels like a small town. Some of these, other towns. I'm from Walhalla and I'm used to that tiny little town. So Fargo is this big city. So it's kind of in a way nostalgic to go to these smaller towns.
Right. No, I totally get that.
Well, and I saw you were in the big city of Fargo recently for a conference. Can you tell us about that?
It was a summit, Kayla, not a conference.
I'm sorry, a summit. What's the difference between a summit and a conference? Can we Google this?
That is a good question. Well, so in fact, my team and I went to the Hatch Coaching or Hatch Real Estate Summit that was in Fargo. Many people who are watching this probably have heard of Hatch Realty in Fargo, and they have a coaching company that had just a really great summit, kind of a smaller real estate conference. And the best thing was, Kayla, is that it wasn't even all real estate. I guess I've got a picture here I can share as well. But so this is our team along with Eric Hatch, which was really kind of fun. It was at First Lutheran downtown. And, Eric kind of got his start at First Lutheran as a youth minister and kind of went on, to get into real estate. So kind of cool, his story. And he had some really big names there, which is really what caught my attention. I had never met Eric until this, but we had 2 great days of seminars, and I myself went to a mastermind out at his lake property on Lake Sally the following day, which was just great, just being around so many big ideas and people that I feel like, whoa, like I'm 2 or 3 steps behind this individual, but I'm going to just sit here, I'm going to take it in, I'm going to network, I'm going to meet people, and it was really great.
It sounds, like whenever I go to these conferences or summits, it's just sometimes it can be intimidating to be around other people, and you feel like they're doing so much more and they're doing, all these different things and have all these different businesses. But what's really cool, someone once said to me, was if you're talking about the past, you're in the wrong group. If you're talking about the future, you're in the right group. And to continue to be around those people that bring you up. And in some sense, people can find it, like I said, intimidating, or they might get jealous. But when you can take that and use that as inspiration and lean into people, I mean, think about what you can do for people that, then come behind you or I, and we can pour into them. Because I mean, it's just so easy to get down on yourself and thinking I should be doing more and I should have more. And it's just a vicious cycle. And so to be around people that just bring you up and you to use that as, energy, I think that's amazing. And that's what it sounds like you got from that.
Yeah, most definitely. It was really great. And, I get away for very many conferences like this, in part because like my girls are at the age where like I don't want to go days and nights at a time, which is what made this attractive. Like, hey, we can go back and forth every day. And it was just very eye-opening because a lot of people will go to a conference or see someone speak, and like there was one individual there speaking who is the head of a company that's got $1 billion valuation.
Wow.
And it's easy to sit there and be like, wow, like I
Yeah.
really want what he has or whatever. But, then he kind of shares some of the things that he's struggling with. And even, talking to Eric, and Eric had many of the same sentiments. Like I think last year he was on the road 120 days during the year, like coaching and doing things. And he says, I like this year, I'm not doing that. I want to be around for my kids' activities. And that resonated with me. And even this other individual who heads up this $1 billion company talked about, even though a lot of people think that, he's many steps ahead of them and he has it all between, maybe some health issues that he's struggling with. And then just the fact that he's listening to Eric talk about the family piece. He doesn't have a wife or kids. He said, I would give up so much of what I have to have what you have.
Wow.
So that really struck me too, and really, helped keep me grounded, because sometimes it's, people like you and I, we want to grind. We want to work hard for our clients. We want to help people get to their goals so we also can reach our goals, but it comes at a cost.
Well, and it also goes to say too, it's like you probably put yourself on the back burner, and it's the relationship sometimes closest to you get put on that back burner because you're working for that goal. And it's like sometimes you just need to just put it all in perspective and realize like that goalpost can continue to move, especially in our business. For people that are entrepreneurs and people that are, the sky's the limit. It's so easy to say, okay, I hit that goal. Now move that goalpost. At what point does the goalpost stop moving too? And I think,
Never.
we need to kind of take a step back and say, okay, we need to just take some time and like recharge and take a step back sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was really good. I'm still kind of on a high, from them, and now going to connect with my team tomorrow and just kind of visit to be like, okay, what do we take just so this doesn't die? Like, what are we going to do to kind of move forward?
Well, it's so easy to go and get inspired, but it's truly in the, what do you do after and what do you do in the next 90 days? And I love that you took your team. That's amazing. It's not just you going, it's your team. And that is amazing because you guys can all grow together.
It was really good. For a little bit there, I was thinking it was a little bit of a curse and a bad idea, just because we've been so busy with real estate that, to have most everybody out of the office. But hey, it ends up working out, and it was a really great experience.
That's awesome. I'm glad you had a good time. It looked like it was well attended, and it looked like it was worth it for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, Kayla, tell me what's going on with rates this week.
Good old interest rates. So right around 7%. So we've seen them dip up and down a little bit, but pretty flat the last little while. So a 30 years right around that 7 mark. Again, you can pay it down. You can pay points to have a lower rate. I locked someone on a VA deal. So you see 6.52. I locked someone today at 6.25. So this is just a national average. I always say that, but just remember there's quite a range that you can get your interest rate at. North Dakota housing has been up in general a little bit, nothing crazy, maybe a quarter. But we continue to see, the jobs report comes out the first Friday of every month. So we continue to watch that. And it sounds like there's not going to be a ton of change this year is what the word on the street is. And so right now it's like you really can't time the market. Is now a good time to buy? Maybe, maybe not. Always depends on your situation, depends on your goals. But whenever I run numbers for people, I'll tell them the difference a 1/4 to 0.5% makes in their payment. And it truly is not enough for them to say, okay, that's where I need to be. It's like, okay, I can deal with that. So my recommendation is don't try to time the market. Don't try to time these interest rates. Just if it makes sense to buy and it makes sense for you, we can figure out interest rates later if they end up moving down.
No, I think that's well said. And, Yeah, we're having, I feel like the sea of buyers out there, and you would probably know better as a lender since we work predominantly with sellers and select buyers, but I feel as though there are less buyers out in the marketplace right now.
I feel like there are, or I feel like there's a lot of, I hate to say the word sitting ducks, but they're almost like, I just want to wait for rates to drop. I just want things to get better. But it feels like there's a lot less applications lately. I've had more clients find houses lately, but I just had a girl find a home last week or 2 weeks ago, and she'd been searching since January. And a lot of people have just said, you know what, I'm gonna wait. And so the people that are still out there, I feel like they are motivated and confident, and they need to find a house. I mean, there's people that are divorced. There's people that are, graduating. There's people that are just sick of renting. There's people that are moving across the country. There's always a reason to buy. But it does seem, Andy, like it's quieted down in the last couple of weeks, I will say.
Sure. Yeah, I would say so too. I would say it's feast or famine almost. Like I've had, we've seen some properties that just sit out there and have been for a while and just aren't moving. And then we have some super desirable ones, and which I want to talk about a little bit later because, I see some interesting trends, but also some bothersome things a little bit, especially when it pertains to other people in our industry, other agents, but just one that, we end up with like 5 offers on and selling quite a bit over asking price. But I think right now, I would say, and you probably would agree, for those buyers that are out there that are looking to buy, because there's maybe a little bit less competition. If you find something you like, it may be a great time to buy. You may get a better deal. I think if you're waiting for rates to drop, well, the biggest question is, when are rates going to drop again? And Kayla, I found this article just the other day from CNET that talked about when will the Fed cut rates? And they have kind of 3 expert opinions here. And so one individual says there's going to be 1 rate cut, but not until the end of the year. Another individual says a rate cut could come as early as September. And kind of person number 3 says, later this year at best. So again, we kind of started, or, the Fed revised its December projection of 3 rate cuts, down to 1. So, I don't know. It's anyone's guess.
And that's the thing is, clients will come to me and say, what are rates going to do? And, I really wish I could forecast. And that's truly all we can do is we can say, well, here's what's forecasted. But as you just read, there were 3 anticipated cuts this year, but it didn't say how much the cuts were going to be. It didn't say when it was going to be. And now the rumor mill is saying maybe 1, maybe end of year. It's an election year. So what does that mean? And so that's just another indication that if you're trying to time interest rates, again, you cannot lock an interest rate unless you are under contract. I mean, yeah, there's some lock and shop programs, but to really time this, if this was to occur in September, you better be under contract in August. That means you need to be shopping for a home mid-August. So it's so hard to time it, and it's exhausting for the consumer. So the more that you read the news and you try to time this market, people just get exhausted and they give up. And so, I just say, if it makes sense, I say, if you like it, lock it. Like it, lock it. If you can afford this payment and it makes sense, and rate is overrated. I say that too, because at the end of the day, we're talking about payment. We're talking about equity. We're talking about appreciation. So it's tough to tell what's going to happen, but I keep saying, don't try to time it.
No, I think that's well said. So, yeah. And I think that, again, that those are out those who are shopping, and if it makes sense for them to buy it, it's a great time. Which kind of leads me to, a good discussion point today, Kayla, which is, setting yourself up for success, which I feel like we talk about a lot. But this is something that, as I look at the marketplace and, some of the statistics we've shared before about the majority of real estate agents selling not very much, even the number of lenders out there, doing maybe less and less business, picking someone that actually works day in and day out in the marketplace is so important. So just about a week or so ago, I listed a house, and very attractive 1960s Rambler. And this particular property was really, really well done. It was really nicely refinished. I knew we'd have a lot of activity on it. I didn't know that we'd have the level of activity that we did, but we ended up getting multiple offers,
Wow, good.
which was really, really great for the seller. But kind of amidst all of those offers, I mean, there were, two offers that probably were standouts. There was one offer that, was maybe middle of the road. And there were two offers that were just so like left field, not even competitive in the least bit. And those offers came from what I would call more part-time or less than part-time agents. And so it's always challenging because, as agents, we have, kind of what's referred as, we've got the duty of obedience. We have many duties to our clients, but we have to be obedient to our clients and, to kind of their wishes and what they'd like to offer. But we also have the duty of reasonable care. And so as I'm looking at some of these offers as a listing agent, and I see, Kayla, I want everybody to win. So I would love it. Like if I could sell, like if there were 5 offers on a home, if I could sell the house 5 times, just because it's always sad to see people lose out. I mean, especially when they have this goal or this dream of home ownership or raising their family there or starting a new marriage, a new life together, whatever it is. Like it's disappointing it's not fun to have to give that news to other individuals, to agents or to buyers. But when I see, 2 offers coming in that are just not even competitive in the least bit, it makes me feel especially bad for those particular buyers because I'm wondering what kind of advice their agents are giving them and how good can that advice be if they do little to no business in the real estate market every year.
Well, I have seen something a few times now, and it's some things that realtors will post, I think mostly on Instagram, and it's like, the job of a realtor is not to find you a house. That's the common thought, is they're just to find you the house. It's to negotiate on your behalf. It's to educate you. It's to be there after contract, once you're in that contract, to advise you. What if there's repairs needed? What if the appraisal comes in low? What if there's issues with financing? What if the seller is getting cold feet? Like there's so much that a realtor does. And I think it's just a common misconception, I could be wrong, that it's like, hey, you have your license and I just need you to find me the house. And that's all I need you for. And it's so much more than that.
And fill out the paperwork.
And exactly all of that paperwork. I've seen, and we talked about this before, I've seen clients that have tried to write up their own purchase agreements, and it's been very concerning. The amount of knowledge and legalities that are in these purchase agreements. I mean, it's so important that you have a realtor that knows what they're doing. And I think for you, Andy, I think you see, when you see these offers come in and they don't even make sense, you probably just feel terrible for the person maybe not well represented, because if this really is their dream home and they didn't have the right representation to present that, that's heartbreaking.
It really is. And that's why, again, some people probably watch or listen to this and think, geez, you guys are just, beating a dead horse, talking about either how good you are or how to, trying to imply that people should partner with you. And that's not it at all, because I have so many conversations with people every day, Kayla, and I just tell people like, hey, I might not be a good fit for you, and I'm probably not. But if you're looking for X, Y, and Z, and you feel like I'm a good fit in terms of personality, work ethic, and the like, I think we should work together. But it just really it floors me when I look at our industry. Again, looking at that statistic of 1.5 million agents and 750,000 of those sell 0 to 1 homes a year, and it just it gives us kind of a black eye. So again, I'm gonna die on this hilltop, preaching that, if you're going to be out in the marketplace, find someone that actually does business, that's listing homes every week, that's actually out there negotiating and knows what's going on in an ever-changing market. That if you want to be successful, if you don't care and you would rather, work with cousin Johnny, who's an agent who has a license and does 1 or 2 home sales a year because, you feel like you don't want to upset your family, you should go with him. But I think at the end of the day, it matters who you work with.
It does. And I think too, on the lending side, I see it too, where maybe I've told you this or I've spoken about this before, but, let your lenders know when you're going to make an offer. let them know, because so often, these clients will think that they know the payment, but they haven't talked to their lender, or they're afraid to go $3,000 over asking. But then we tell them, well, that impacts your payment $25 a month. And they're shocked. They're like, oh, I had no idea. Or we find out, like, maybe if we did a quicker close, could you guys do a 30-day close instead of 60-day? Could that strengthen your offer? Or what do rates look like for a 30-day versus that 60-day? Rates are usually better the shorter the term versus a longer term. So there's a lot of education we can do as a lender too. And I see it too, Andy. It's like, just if everyone can be on the same page, communication open and educated, when it comes down to writing an offer, and you know this more than me, but it's like, how can clients and how can realtors write a strong offer? What are the things that encompass a strong offer? And I'll say, right first and foremost is a pre-approval letter. If you're going in without a letter, are people still, is it common to make an offer without a letter lately?
I have had a few individuals that have made offers, without, not that I've represented, but I have seen some that haven't sent one, and, some that sent an offer with no pre-approval letter, and then they put maybe a deadline, like this offer expires, at such and such a date and time. And it's like, well, number one, we don't know if you're a serious buyer or if you're qualified. Like anybody, can put pen to paper and can put an offer together. But do you have the wherewithal? We want to see that. And generally, Kayla, I want to see a good local lender pre-approvals letter. I don't want to see Rocket Mortgage. I don't want to see, some of these online providers. Again, I know that they can certainly, get the job done, but I've had more horror stories. And so again, if you're in a multiple offer situation, if I'm working with a buyer, Kayla, I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna connect you. Like if you're bringing me an online lender pre-approval letter, I'm gonna connect you with one of my trusted local partners, and then from there, I'm gonna communicate with that lender. I'm gonna communicate with the listing agent if I'm representing a buyer, just to say, hey, what is it that your sellers are looking for? Is there anything that would make a difference to them? And just make sure we're staying on top of things. The other thing that really frustrates me on the agent side, Kayla, is some of these agents who work very, very part-time and who list homes. And all of a sudden I had a client a couple of weeks ago where, hey, this house was on the market. It was sitting there. It was available. We put a showing request in on a Wednesday for a Saturday morning. And I get a note on Friday night that the status of the home changed. It's under contract. And then after that, I get a notice, they accepted an offer. And it's like, well, boy, that would have been really, really nice to know.
So
and
why do they do that?
What's that?
Why does that happen? I've heard of that too quite often, where they just want to get it done. Why do you think that is, Andy?
Because I think people are inherently lazy. I think in just not even in our industries, but just across the board. And I think, sometimes it might be their buyer as well. So they may be double siding a deal and thinking, hey, I can get both sides of this and I can earn more money, which totally goes against your fiduciary duties to your clients, and that you want to get as many offers as possible. So like, hey, if we would have known, like, and again, I maybe should be following up a little bit more, but there wasn't any apparent notice of anything major going on, which in this market, it hasn't been as hot as it normally would. But it would have been helpful just to know that, because we more than likely could have, moved our time up. We're very qualified, and could have made something happen. So that's a little bit frustrating too, especially, in my mindset, I bend over backwards to try to keep other agents informed and say, hey, we've got an offer on this. We're going to set a deadline, or I'll keep you informed. Or someone that told me they were submitting an offer, I didn't see one by the deadline, I'm following up with them anyway, because if I'm doing the best job possible for my client, I want to make sure that they have every possible offer that's on the table. And other agents appreciate that too.
So what if you're a client and you're not sure? Like, is it, as a client that's selling their house, is the agent required to tell them that there's a showing set up for Saturday? Or are they not even, were the clients aware, do you think? Or do they
I don't know that. Generally our practice, we use a platform. Agents use something called Showing Time, where an agent can electronically request a showing. We have it set up generally where all of our clients are getting a text message and or an email. They can get a phone call if someone requests one. So that ideally would be, the best practice, so that they're approving the showings and that they know what's going on.
Mhm.
I think, that's maybe a point that, one could debate. Are you required to let them know of a showing or not if there's an offer coming in? I mean, I really think you are, because I think you have to, alert your client to the fact that, hey, there's some other interest in here. We may not want to accept this. If the
Mhm.
client decides to do that, then they do. But, good communication is paramount.
It's huge. So aside from, an approval letter, that's, a local lender, taking time to keep the lender in the loop, that's kind of where I'm coming from my side of things. And timeline, like, what does your timeline look like? When you're writing an offer, is sooner better, is longer better to accommodate the
Yeah.
seller? What else do you feel would make a strong offer as a buyer when you're writing up a purchase agreement?
A case of red wine, Kayla.
A
I,
case. Well, I only drink well, yeah, I'd say red and white. Little mix.
Maybe I just say that because there have been kind of some real interesting, multiple offer situations, especially over these past few years. And that there was I heard the story of some buyers that came through and they knew there were going to be multiple offers, so they were kind of, as they're touring this house, they saw that this family liked this very specific kind of wine, and so they actually got a whole case of that wine and delivered it with their offer, which actually helped them secure the house.
Seriously? Wow.
Seriously. Yeah,
That's effort right there.
that is. So I think it comes down to, kind of being creative and looking for, because quite often there isn't anything that's going to be unique. It's just like, hey, they just want the most money possible. But if you could find something to kind of set your offer apart.
Mhm.
um, I had a transaction where someone wrote kind of a love letter to the sellers
Yeah.
and really, really wanted this house. They could envision it, for their family and young kids and whatever. But then also in their offer, Kayla, they put in there that it was contingent on them canceling their purchase agreement they already had on another home that they were trying to buy.
Oh, okay.
And the letter was, compelling and the like, but the but it just doesn't paint a great picture that,
Mhm.
hey, like, you already have a home that you've agreed to buy, but now you want to go back on your word and then you want to buy our house. Well, that's kind of a red flag. And then the fact that it's contingent on you canceling it tells me that you're probably so far down the path of purchasing
Mhm.
that you're not quite sure you're
Yeah.
going to be able to get out, or that it's not going to cost
Yeah.
you a little bit. So that was a little bit more of a peculiar one that maybe,
Mhm.
wasn't going to, win.
Well, and I think it's emotional as a seller. It's like it's bittersweet probably. Maybe you've raised your kids there and you've had many memories, and I think it's emotional. And so when you're getting an offer, like when I've sold my house, houses before, I've seen letters, I've seen people like, who is going to be buying this house? It's emotional. And I think that sometimes that's forgotten. And I love the love letters. I think that that's great. I love the wine. Like, that's incredibly creative. I think creativity is so important, and strategizing with your whole entire team. I had a client a couple of weeks ago get into contract. And one of the things I did is I called up the listing agent and I said, and she knew who I was. And I said, hey, they've been through automated underwriter. They've been, I've looked at all their financials. They're good to go. We talked about, we've had conversations of, there was talk about an appraisal, like, would it appraise? I have to be careful what I say. I can't say a client can do anything, but to just talk to the listing agent and say, hey, I'm here. We're going to communicate. We're going to talk through this. I'm going to let you know once the appraisal is ordered, once it's in. That allows the listing agent to tell the seller, which gives them peace of mind. So if they know up front that Kayla's going to communicate, or whoever lender, I mean, that also helps too. And I think it's all about just having that open communication and finding ways to stand out. I even see people write larger earnest money checks sometimes to
Yep.
simplify. I've seen, back in 2020, 21, there were inspection waivers, which we don't see now, which is, you don't need to. But
We
there's
do around here just a little bit more. It's
yeah.
not, a Fargo agent told me once that Fargo buyers and agents like their inspections, as they should, but I've seen quite a number of waivers lately.
Well, and every now and then we get an appraisal waiver. So as a lender, we sometimes can get an appraisal waiver, meaning an appraisal is not needed based on the actual file that we have. So even that's a great point to stand out.
I've been very surprised, Kayla, when you say the appraisal waiver, the number of transactions that I've done lately that have had those where they haven't done an appraisal.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's traditionally when people have strong files, it's something that's ran under, it's Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae called our automated underwriter. That's what determines it based on the property. But that's a great way for someone to save a few $100s. And if there's any concerns of an appraisal being low, it's not a concern anymore because you got a waiver. So that's just something really, really great if we can get one of those.
For sure.
Is there anything else that you think would be hey, I would recommend one last tip for a really strong offer, or anything that our audience can maybe take away?
I think a tip for a strong offer starts with picking the right players on your team, kind of like when you're out at recess and, there are 2 team captains and you take turns picking who do you want on your team. And I was probably frequently one of the last ones picked because I wasn't particularly athletic. But seriously, you as a consumer, when you're going out, your home is one of your largest assets for most people. So I think the biggest recommendation I can give to people is if you want writing a strong offer or getting a good value for your home starts with picking the right team. So go online, search, Google real estate agents, Google mortgage lenders, look on social media, look at their Google reviews. And you should actually, as you're sitting down and visiting with agents or lenders, ask to see their volume. I can give you a report of all the homes I've sold. I can show you that I'm out there actually doing business. I can show you my active listings. So I think that's so important because aligning yourself with someone who actually is out there and who's grinding every day is your key to success.
100%. I'll back that all day. And I know we do sound like a broken record, but we continue to see clients that are not in that situation. I think that we're just so passionate about it. And it's if you can just align yourself with those right people, do your research. Don't rush into decisions. Be methodical about who you choose to align yourself with, and do a Google search. Take a few moments. Or, sometimes you can ask your friends and family, but they might just tell you the one person they chose, and they tell you they had a good experience because they didn't have a bad one. But at the end of the day, do your research, do your due diligence, and align yourself with the right people. I agree with you, Andy.
I love it, Kayla.
Amen.
Well, good discussion, good scenarios and stories, and I hope everyone out there found it useful.
Well, everyone's going to be Googling the rest of the day to find which agents and lenders to use. So,
well, Kayla, great to see you as always. I think that's a wrap on episode 49. So have a great rest of the week and go work hard for your clients.
I will if you will.
We'll see ya.
Bye.